6 o'clock, I'll bring the meeting to order, short and sweet, see if we can get through this here. First up, modifications, changes, anything to add or?
We do have two, yes. So Heather has a youth project she wants to discuss, and then I put a copy of this, and if you want to read through it, if everybody agrees to it, you want to sign off, it's just another one of those letters of recommendation for the FCIDC for a grant that they're doing for the Pearly Block.
Okay, let's do both of those right after review and approval, because Ken's not in anyway. Is he gonna make it in?
He's not gonna be in.
No? Okay. Yeah, we'll get to these right after. Okay, so those two, public comment, nobody's here for the public. Review and approval for the minutes of January 24th. If everything looked good, there were nothing left out or any errors, I will hear a motion to approve them.
Move we approve.
Sandy
Second.
first, Eli with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. Which one do we want to do first? The FDIC or?
Yeah, can we do that, 'cause there's a small chance some people might join us on Zoom, so we'll go in a few minutes.
So you want to just keep working through, then if they join, then.
So we go to the Ken trees?
We'll
If you do the
this first, yeah.
Let's
this one.
grab this, we'll take a look at that. So what is this all about?
It's
Haven't
just
even
like the
seen
last
this.
one you signed
We just get this?
off on.
It
It's
was
just
in my
basically,
mailbox.
they're asking
Oh, well,
for
I got my
the
mail on
trustees'
Friday.
support, but I think just signed off by you actually that, and I, it's another grant for the Pearly Block for FCIDC.
Oh, God bless affordable housing units.
It's a letter
Attract every drug
of
dealer on
support.
earth. It's the truth.
Sure.
It's 366 Main, so make sure before you sign it, we'll have to reprint that on letter.
Place across from me is right back in business, you know.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't usually take them long.
Crack as usual.
All hands on desk approach?
Actually, no, I didn't write this. This was written from Elizabeth Nant, I think is who wrote it, right? Elizabeth or,
Yep, Elizabeth wrote it.
Well, at least they spelled
When did
Pearly
this
right
letter
this
come
time.
in?
like Wednesday?
Friday?
Or,
Yeah, because I picked my stuff up on
The
Friday and I
agenda
didn't
was
see
set-
this.
It came in
After?
after the
Yeah,
agenda
maybe
was
it's
set, so I
Friday.
think Friday.
And then let me guess, the grant is due by tomorrow or something?
No, I think they're, I don't think we have to get it. If you want to make the corrections.
Love you,
and-
Sam.
We can make corrections and then, we did that last time as well. I think we made a couple of changes and
Yeah.
I'll send it
We're
back
gonna
to her.
Yeah, we're gonna have to at least. Who is writing the grant? Must be FDIC
yes.
or FCIDC?
This is just
It's just
a letter of support
Right.
for them. I think it's probably a requirement of the.
Yeah, I think they had kind of a pushback on the apartments that they wanted to put in the warehouse. So hence maybe this.
Okay, by reading this letter, I'm kind of confused as to what they're asking for or what we're supporting.
Yeah, what do they
It doesn't
want
say
from
anything.
us?
Yeah,
No.
I'm not sure what is the project.
What's their ask?
To expand. It's in the very top, the Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation's CRRP application for funding to improve and expand affordable housing. I think it's just they want to redo a bunch of the apartments and add more apartments.
Yeah, like I said,
Everything in the third
This
floor?
is funding. to
no,
help
they're
them
going
do that.
into the
Atrium.
second floor in the sort of kind of mezzanine
And then in the like.
that's out
fourth-
there in the warehouse.
The fourth paragraph down the Pearly Block, second floor, yada, 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 FCIDC plans to renovate those units. And
Well, I mean,
this
if
funding would
you've
be-
never seen them, you'll know why they plan to renovate them.
I've
I saw
heard.
them 20 years ago. and it was
Dumps.
rough then.
Well, they should definitely be renovated, for sure.
What is CRRP?
It's the grant that they're applying for. I'm not sure what the acronym stands
I
for.
don't know either, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
That's why I'll have her review it and
More
make
clear.
the,
Yeah, I'm not really getting a good vibe out of this. I wish, it doesn't seem to have a clear ask or a clear support of anything.
Do you want us to have Elizabeth or Tim at the meeting?
I think
We
we
don't
could
really know
use
what
some
they're trying to aim at.
clarification.
Yeah, they didn't put in a request, we don't have an ask here, it doesn't say what they're supporting or what we're supporting, it's just kinda honestly confusing to me.
Okay.
So I think it needs to be revisited, but as far as right now goes, I'm not gonna support this letter as it's drawn, because that doesn't seem clear as to what
that's
they,
fine, we'll,
what they're asking.
put it back to her and, I
Alright,
don't know, make sure she changes the spelling errors.
Correct grammar.
Heather, do we wanna do your thing now, or we wanna wait a little
We can
longer?
do my thing now. Wasn't certain if anybody, so it's a community project and I mentioned a few people was gonna talk, but they didn't know if they would be able to make it tonight.
Is that this
Because it
paper?
was too early, 6 o'clock.
Yes,
did
you got one part of it. So I sent an email out. I don't know if any of you.
Other than this community art space
It's the
thing,
community art space.
I didn't print the pictures, but
Okay.
I
Is it-
counted the
it's in
dollars
the
as
email
I
though?
looked at the pictures.
So I think that I need to
Right here,
officially
you should.
recuse myself from being a trustee on this, probably since this is a Vermont Youth Project concept. So I printed out 2 that have pictures.
I just
so-
calculated the dollars in the pictures,
Just calculate dollars and pictures, yeah. So
a lot of them.
this budget thing is something that I did up really super duper quick today, so just focus on what I'm
Oh,
saying
okay.
first. And not that, because that is not a complete done budget.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you wanted. I printed
No, it's
it.
okay, that's okay. So anyway, so my presentation.
So this is at 366 Main, your presentation?
Let me go through, and I'll explain stuff. Okay. So with the Vermont Youth Project, we spend time, we survey students about their perceptions of what, their quality of life. We've got some data here that's showing like 30% of students are having added stress, anxiety, and depression. 45.5% of students are reporting an increase in challenges with their mental health since the beginning of COVID. We've got, these numbers are going, go on and on. One of the big things that the youth are saying is they need a space to spend time at. And I've been working on the concept of a youth center, but there's a lot of challenges and roadblocks with kind of like building that up. It's totally doable, but it's a really huge space concept. I'm also hearing similar from families, like families with young children, socialization places to sit down, have a cup of coffee, socialize with a friend. The children get to go and enjoy other stuff. Since there was a play space kind of thing down in St. Albans for a little while, parents would go down there, they could have birthday parties, their kids could play. We don't really have a lot of that access in our area. And then same with like the other generations within our community as well, like a sit down and hangout space. When I was in Burlington, when I lived pretty close to Alice, there was a place called Wildflower Studio. And it was an open art space, maybe about twice the size of this room or so. It had all kinds of art mediums and manipulatives for little children. So there's a coffee shop spot, so the parents would come and caregivers would come. Their children would be able to experience art. The adults could experience art with them, or they could sit down and have some coffee with a friend while their children are experiencing something new. It was marvelous. This place was spectacular. It closed because of COVID. They just couldn't keep the doors open.
Of course, it was also Burlington.
So I've been kind of like, since I've moved here, I've been building on this like concept, like it could be expanded beyond just for young children, like 2-year-olds to 10-year-olds. You could have space, like open time for teens. You could have open time for other people, other age groups, and experience you know, like the therapeutic aspect that comes with art too, and community building and togetherness. So what I have been working on, there's a grant that that I really think could our community could access, and there's a number of other grants as well. But it requires a fiscal agent. It requires somebody who can apply for the grant, because it has to be municipality, and it has to be, or a 501c3. I've been searching and searching and casting my net around here in Ridgeford. And then when I was talking to John, I just kind of wondered, could the trustees be the fiscal agent for this project? They would technically hire any staff members that would be involved in it, with the understanding that it would be like a self-sustaining entity. There's possibilities for, and I made a super rough kind of budget numbered thing with just this one grant opportunity that I see and one thing that I know for potential rents. So I did call Tim Smith because there are 2 units at 366 Main Street, because I was just curious because I know that they were open spots. I've also communicated with KW Realty for a spot on Main Street across the street. It's a little more expensive and doesn't have utilities in it.
The restaurant?
Yes. It'd be a pretty neat space. There could be other space opportunities in Enosburg I haven't explored all the way, because I don't want to, I can only put so much of my efforts into something if I don't have a fiscal agent to say the application can come through us and we can manage it.
What about the Armory?
Well, the Armory has
The library?
plans, and
Have they told anybody what their plans are?
My understanding from talking to Jesse about some stuff earlier today is the deed is kind of specific to municipality functions, so I'm not sure how that would fall, but I guess there's some specific language in their deed for what that building can be used for.
I see.
And I spoke with Margot for rec, and though there are some similarities, it's not quite the same as a rec function. And they're not they won't be in a space for a while to be able to like increase their staff and like have open spots. And so if they do have community center functions at the Armory, they also are going to have to be very careful about the kind of functions that they have during business hours.
I was just thinking, had you come up with a physical space?
There's just, right at this particular moment, there's 3 spaces that I'm aware of that are the potential. So there's the 2 units at 366 Main. There's one in the front and one in the back that are not rented.
Where is 366 Main?
That's the FNESU offices and
Curly block.
Early block.
What isn't rented?
if you're looking at the building, the front left.
65 to 75% rented right now.
Okay, but I talked to Tim a little while ago.
This was this morning.
This was a couple weeks ago. And then there's one other unit in the back. So.
Oh, behind you guys?
Yes. So.
You mean the warehouse?
Which is not completed yet.
Right.
So approximately at the time when the grant award would be coming, that would be finished. Time-wise would work out.
I mean, we looked at the 327, where you said the restaurant was.
Parks and
Halvies.
Halvies.
Where Halvies was, yeah.
Yeah, the curry.
That's 1,647 square feet,
Wow.
in case you need to know that.
Which one?
What was Halvies Cafe?
Yeah.
She had 1,647 square feet. And part of that is still the kitchen with the Ansel system and the things that are still
Which
there.
was nice, because then if it isn't hurt, they already have a sink in there. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that space would be
Leaks, but-
phenomenal.
That's why.
I said it leaks, pours all over the floor, but other than that, it's good.
But that seemed ideal to me for those.
But that's what the square footage is, if that helps you.
So it was 16.
I believe it's 1,647.
Yeah, because on here, 450, that's probably the size of this room.
That's tiny.
Yeah, that's tiny.
Yeah, no, and so, real estate, you have what's available and start
$900
there.
for 450 feet. It's a lot.
Sounds like you need a benefactor that's willing to give you a building.
With a sink and stuff. Because like art, paint, all that.
Yeah.
If you don't have plumbing in that room, then it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
It's gonna be a mess. Trust me, I know, I have one.
So I do know that there's some unknowns with this, but what I'm wondering is if the trustees would be willing to be a fiscal agent if I can get this stuff to work out, so that it wouldn't be a cost on the taxpayers. And there's definitely some grant opportunities out there beyond the one that is kind of like spearheaded made me think that this is actually very doable. But I listed on here, like there's AARP, there's United Way, the Vermont Community Foundation.
Oh, that's right, I thought of something today that you might want to check out. What about Senator Leahy's war chest?
So
He started Echo, maybe you could get him to do something
So
for
there might be
you.
some other stuff too, but the thing that's like,
He's got a bundle,
what's really needed is just like,
like millions.
like,
Yeah, he's got plenty
this
of
can't
money.
be started as its own 501c3. Like, there's just that.
Needs to
having
be a
that-
municipality or an entity of some kind.
Well, yeah, it just like, and it needs something that already has the infrastructure to be able to do some of the business management parts.
So would that be
So that we
just
could focus on the other stuff.
because the initial grant you're going for was for 3 years,
It's a
correct?
3-year grant.
So would you just need the municipality to oversee it for the first 3 years and then it can all get transferred to its own independent 501c3? Or are you thinking long-term that the municipality will be managing this as long as it's open?
I think that that's up for conversation. I think that once it got established, it could potentially become its own 501c3, or the municipality finds that it's working fine with the systems and it's not a burden and it's actually a huge benefit to the community. It could go either way.
So going back to the armory, what types of events are you thinking might be problematic in that building?
Well, maybe I'm just feeling a little sensitive about people's tolerance for children being in a space playing.
Yeah, and
Well,
this,
it's an ungodly amount of square footage.
Kids running around screaming, like it'd be like us having
And-
kids running around screaming in here
and-
during the
Because they're
day.
leaving that room open, correct?
And
I
a
think so,
space
yes.
like, something like this, and I'm hearing this a lot, is like the need for a dedicated space. Like you not like, you
Put it
don't
up, take it
spend
down,
all of
put
your
it up, take it
time
down.
to set it up every single day, worry about if you're standing anything, and then, you know, there's a huge desire for a space that community members can go in and they can personalize and they can feel comfortable in it and can really adapt to it and just I don't know, like sigh a breath of relief and make connections with other people. I'm just hearing all the time that like they're feeling so isolated at home.
I thought the rec center was planning on doing a community space. I feel like I've heard all this before.
What my last conversation with Margaret was that their next bit of time is really gonna be, one, it's probably gonna be about a year or so before they even get in there. And two, that they're looking at maybe expanding with hiring some staff, but that it's gonna be like, as needed sort of activities.
Right.
Not like an open community center like it's the Sarah Holbrook Center is in Burlington.
Right.
So what are you thinking about using this money for at first?
Well, so it would be kind of like the seed money to get like through the first couple of months of some stuff, and like I said, like the numbers don't fully match up right now, and some other funding sources would need to be sought. But I did inquire, like these grants, you can use it to pay staff, you can use it to buy furniture, you can use it to pay rent and utilities. So it's pretty flexible with how the money's being used. They just don't want it all used for rent.
I'm not opposed to the idea, but it seems like signing on right now without having an absolutely guaranteed secure location, like you know where you're going, seems a little
We also wouldn't.
not on the bright side to me.
I agree.
Because not only, I mean, I understand why the municipality would be a good fit, because we do have staff, but we don't really have any staff that's like
Geared towards that.
this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So we
in
would
my
still
budget,
need,
I was putting in like a coordinator to oversee it.
right, but as we found with the grant writing coordinator for the town, it's awful hard to find somebody who wants to work 20 hours a week. especially for rates like that. So we would still need to find all of those people, someone to A, work the thing, and another to oversee or, you know, run it essentially. So we need to find 2 part-time positions, so we don't, you know, we're not set up for that either, so.
We're okay with managing it. If it did come to fruition and you hired somebody, we're okay with taking on the management of it. We don't have a problem with that, and you should be able to absorb it, no problem.
But it would have to stand alone, it would have to stand on its own financial legs.
It'd be, oh yeah, it'd be financial,
would be
it'd be its own enterprise.
It would be a
and
completely,
Right, like another
yeah,
department.
It'd be a
correct.
department, but our
But I'm-
policies and everything would just fall into place with what.
So my ask right now is really just that I can continue pursuing this if I were to, and I'm willing to volunteer to apply for the grant and work with Abby, because there might be some other village-specific stuff with the grant that I wouldn't be able to answer. But that I could start pursuing this, and that even if we were to be awarded the grant, we can always turn it down if we didn't get the other pieces together. But I can't get the other pieces together without a fiscal agent, because I have nobody to apply for the grant for. Yeah, but, and then if we can't get the money to work out and have it be a standalone, then we don't do it.
What about the school?
School would not be a place for this.
I'm not nearly
No,
as
no, I'm
worried
not-
about the money as I am the space.
I'm not
Right.
talking location, I'm talking them being fiscal agent.
No.
They couldn't do that either.
We do quite a lot in the schools beyond just standard educating our students. We have been creating mental health support systems beyond our standard realm of work. After school programming has been expanding in ways that we're able to, but like we're at a point where the community needs to like do some of its own work too.
Right, I'm just getting conflicting like feelings here, cause this sounds like a community-driven project where taxpayers would fund it if there was enough demand, and I would be okay with that. But the way that we have it, I don't know, I don't wanna say carrot on the stick here, but like the way that we're trying to get into this is saying that it's gonna stand on its own, and I don't know about that. So it's, which is it? Is the community gonna like fund it, support it, everything, or is it gonna be its own entity?
Like with this one grant, there's not enough money there for it to support
I
itself.
have a question. As trustees, I thought we were supposed to be taking care of the village, not getting into the education part.
This isn't education
Yeah.
though. This is like a community connection space. So like there's potential like art classes that could happen within this space, but the concept of this space is kind of like an open community, but it's centered around art. So it's the idea is that community members, when they're feeling like they want to get out of their house and maybe see some people, they can do that, and then they can also experience some art at the same time.
Have we seen what do I want to say? Have we seen people asking for art
Well, I've,
other than this place in Burlington?
not the art specifically, other than just some of the high school students that I work with, you know, sports.
But doesn't
And
the
they
high
don't
school
have
have an
the
art
outlet.
department?
Well, yes.
Okay, so at least there is something there. I mean, rather than nothing, it does have an art department.
Yes.
Well, this is a quasi-art youth center type.
So
Yeah, it's a youth
there would be youth, there would be time dedicated to youth, so like there would be time within this whole space for like different age categories, and then it could be open to anybody there could be certain times on the calendar where it's just anybody can pop in. So it would help a lot with like isolation for, again, like parents with young children and teens, and retired residents, get people out of the house and doing something. The art is kind of part of the draw, which is like being able to just beyond, like doodling is like super important therapeutic, and I've got like, I've printed out a couple of articles of just like how, what's the grant one?
If 327 was secured, do you not think that'd be a good location or a good spot for that?
327?
You talking about the
Main
Halvey space?
Yeah.
Alves?
Has anyone spoken with Champlain Housing Trust?
Yeah, we've spoken with Champlain.
Okay, and they have now decided that it is not going to be a dedicated restaurant, which they built it for and yacked about for years?
We've talked with Diana as well, and, you know, she's also working with them to verify that
Okay,
it would be looked at as I think they're looking for anything to
okay.
go in there. So,
What would your hours of operation be? Or what would the hours of operation be?
So you are getting into some of the details that I haven't spent time doing because I don't have anybody to apply for the grant for. And some of
Which must
that,
have some thoughts.
well, I do, like there were definitely morning hours for families with younger children, after school hours for teens, weekend hours, and like probably more hours during school vacations to, so it could very easily be open, like 40+ hours a week. I also think that there's a huge amount of opportunity to work with Cold Hollow and Enosburg High School for internships and residencies. I've also was talking with somebody about the Vermont Center for the Arts, I'm trying to remember what it's called, they do residencies and stuff, with having like artists come and they can co-op the space, is another opportunity for it. I know there's been a lot of conversation in Enosburg about co-oping space.
Would they have to pay for that?
Well, I had two things in
As a,
mind with that.
revenue?
Yeah, and that's one of the revenue sources that I put on here, potential, and my numbers are just like, I have no idea what co-op space rental fee would be, so I just threw in a really low number. But my two thoughts were they could either have a fee, or they could be one of the people that's like working. So they'd have, like some co-op spaces do that, so you have some hours where you work the front desk, in exchange for using the facilities.
Yep.
Artist in
So-
residence does that.
Exactly, yeah, I think that's where I got the idea. They do that also at like, at the University Mall when they do,
A Christmassy thing,
yeah.
whatever it's called.
Yeah, where it's kind of like a big farmer's market sort
Yeah.
of thing for holiday stuff, so they do that too, so it keeps the overhead down pretty low. There's a lot of like really good possibilities, and I've been talking like with Kim, I can't,
Covert Aroldi.
yes, thank you, Eroldi?
Or Kim Covert Aroldi.
Eroldi, okay. I've seen her name a lot, I've never heard it really pronounced out loud.
We make it very clear, so.
So she's really excited and supportive of this. She just wasn't sure if she was gonna pop in because she was in a class tonight. And-
She does the Opera House and,
Mhm. Yes, and we were talking about art shows and, another potential revenue source could actually be like a very small section, like selling art supplies as well. Some of the like the details would really be tuned in, like again, once we kind of figure start applying for some grants and,
personally, I think you've already outgrown 327 Main, just in your
Yeah.
conversation.
well, like, again, so my hang up is I need to know what I'm looking for funding sources, who am I applying for anything? And then, what spaces are available.
I mean, this sounds to me like 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. If you really wanna have, and I looked at the pictures and they were wonderful, but if you really wanna have what I'm feeling your concept is, I think that's what you need for space. Or you're gonna have,
Everybody be on top
you're
of
gonna
each
have a
other.
tiny little minuscule piece of a something, but that's all you're gonna be able to have room for. You know, you can have 2 tubes of paint in this corner, and then you can move over a little bit and you can have 3 pencils, and I realize I'm being absolutely facetious, but that takes a lot of
Yeah,
space.
this 366 Main Street is definitely not ideal.
I don't think you could make it work. I think it's too small.
I also think though that this is a good idea and it would fit really nicely in with a more general community space.
Yeah, it's
like
finding that
Have an
space.
art kind of department within a community like space setting. That way you have, ideally you could have a very large space,
Yeah.
4,000 square feet-ish, and then have, half or a quarter of it, like an art station, like an art room, you know?
Yeah, because, and now like with your small children have a lot of things, they take up a lot of space, you know, so you've got the square footage there. You brought in the elderly concept. I suppose some of them need quiet. I don't, but some of them may. So you've got, you know, another concept there. So yeah, I think you need a large space.
I think a large space would be most ideal, and
You need somebody to donate a house to you.
can also look
I have somebody in mind.
bigger. I can also look bigger, but again, this is not the school's project, and I
Yeah.
can't do this as an individual person.
I'm just thinking, the rec center is in the house by Cold Hollow, right?
No.
No.
Well,
What's that being used for right
it is
now?
being used for alternative placements. It's one of the things that the FNESU has had to do because we haven't been able to place students with intensive special needs in our, like SOAR and other places that we would have. So we have created four of our own programs within FNESU.
What about the old
Store open on one side?
town clerk office? I know that
I have
parking lot
that in my
idea.
head, but I wasn't gonna say that out
I
loud.
don't know if that's a good idea. I don't think we wanna touch having to fix that building. I think that's one of the reasons they were happy to move.
What about the parish hall?
Yeah, I mean,
No, that's already a problem with the childcare center, so let's
Yeah,
not get
I
into
would-
that one.
This would not, I wouldn't.
Does it have to be in Enosburg? What about the storefronts in Richford that are empty?
So I have reached out to some people in Richford, but my conversations haven't gotten very far in terms of who could be a fiscal
Because,
agent.
because isn't it, as you cross the bridge,
Yeah.
After
that
the
used to be
health
Timmy
center.
Demaray's store.
that's right in front of you
Yes,
is like
yeah.
a
No, and-
plethora of
and I
empty
have-
buildings.
And there's a
And yes,
parking
so
lot right
there's
there.
buildings, and I think Richford, would really greatly benefit from one of these as well. Again, I'm butting up into the like fiscal agent problem.
well, what about the old post office, the one that Richford Town owns?
Of course, they used
That
to be
FNSEU.
Used to be in.
upstairs. There used to be a youth center up in Richford. They didn't-
Yes, and they still have a 501c3, but they are a person, not an organization, and they
Yeah,
don't
somebody-
have like payroll and stuff. And so again, it wouldn't necessarily hurt both communities to have something similar to this. But yeah, it's that fiscal agent part. It's just having these conversations and getting somebody to be like, okay, if you can make the money work and we can work together, you know, we can move forward with this. And honestly, Sam, like kind of going back to something that you said, I never really thought about asking for it to become something that like we put in with taxes and stuff. I've only solely looked at this as
A revenue generating.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's
Department.
taxpayer benefited, it could be
I mean,
taxpayer
I think
supported.
that would simplify some things in a lot of ways if like, you know, like it could still be grant supported partially, but then,
Yeah, the
Into tax-
taxpayers kind of fill in the gap.
Yeah.
and then we wouldn't have to worry about some of these revenue streams and it would simplify it a lot. And I think that still, I really, really believe that if we had something like this in our community, I think that, like the mental health levels of our community members would go up so much. Just think it would be spectacular.
Yeah, I think we need to we gotta take a step back and look at some more things in depth. Hours of operation are huge, because if it's only open like during school hours or, you know, 20 hours a week, then at that point, it almost, not saying it would become forgotten, but it may not be in the limelight, like, it's always a place to be able to go to. Because if you go there and it's closed, you go there the second time it's closed,
You're not
a lot
going
less
back.
likely to go the third time. So it almost needs to be like a 10 to 10 kind of deal where people can go and hang out whenever. The door's always open, anyone's always welcome, but once that happens, that's gonna become a major, it's gonna take a lot to run a place like that.
Could Spectrum Youth help you in any way?
I don't.
But I think it's something to consider, but I think we should try to lock down a more secure vision, routine, timing, and location before we start trying for any money.
What about the Opera House that in the downstairs?
All there is a couple of teeny tiny offices and a kitchen,
Yeah.
There's no
and
room?
back rooms that you wouldn't want anybody in. I mean, you really wouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
To me, location is the biggest problem.
so I guess I wanna go back to what, I know that you want more information, so we're not gonna be able to apply for at least one of these grant rounds, which is okay. But it's an open possibility, if like some more of this could be worked out. 'Cause like I
I'm
said,
not
I didn't
opposed to
do a
it.
lot of that work because I didn't have anybody to apply for.
Well, you can't be going for, can't go looking for something to do because there's money available. Find what you want to do and then find the money to support that.
I know that, I absolutely know that. I've been working on this concept for a few years. It's just that it's getting the pieces to come together. I've had times where like I've had money and like haven't been able to like get the fiscal, it's just, there's just a lot of pieces to like be able to put together.
But what, at this point in time, right now, if let's just say everything happened instantaneously, we applied for the grant, the village applied for the grant, we got the money, boom, we gave you the money. What would you need the money for to figure out, what step would you need the money for? You know what I mean? What's the next step that you would need?
All of a
have the
sudden, it
money
fell
in
on
your
the table
hand.
here.
Right, so,
Because like right now, it kind of seems like we still need to put together, when, where, who, like all of that, and it doesn't matter, that doesn't require any money. So whether or not we apply for this grant now, I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think there's still stuff that we gotta figure out.
You kind of want to see a concrete business
I
plan
wanted to
written
ask
out
you a
before
personal
we go for
question
the
from
money,
your
like,
email.
Yeah.
Right, because.
About your son.
It's just, here's the money, okay, now what?
What happened to the
Still gotta
gifted
find
and
a place.
talented program
Still
at
gotta
the
find a
elementary school?
person, still gotta
Right.
it's gotta all kind of come.
We had one.
yeah,
Locations
Maybe you
I
need
guess.
to, for,
I
just
think that
for
pretty
personal
good sense,
sake,
a good location
dig
to
back
start.
into that and see
If
what
it
happens,
grows,
see what you can do about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was
It's a good
great.
starting point.
You got
My
tile
youngest son
floors already,
was
I mean, you got a
the
big
pilot
sink, you got a
project.
big area,
It's on
glass
the
walls,
floor.
everyone can
It
see
worked.
what's going on, nice showcase.
And it was
of,
within our
display
school
of-
system.
What do they want
And
for
if you
rec
got
pro?
road, go somewhere else.
yeah, and I.
1100?
I mean, because I'm sure he's not the only one.
It's within
That is a
Julius.
different kind of
Yeah, that's
support,
reasonable.
Yeah,
though.
It's
That-
good.
it
Like
is,
the
but it's,
school
66
grades
Main
where
Street,
there's
they're
just
off the
nothing
rocker,
to
it's
do.
$900
Like
for
there's one
450
library
feet.
Well,
opportunity
it's reasonable, we
to
still,
meet, but like
we're
that's,
still.
No, I know.
Car in front of the horse,
Yeah.
where's our
It's
income?
not,
Right,
it's
no.
not.
No, I was still
There
just,
needs
you
to be a
know,
business
like,
plan, kind of like how it's gonna be
people.
sustaining, and then I would
We
say,
we have some sparse stuff.
that decision after
And
the
the
3
library
years of the
can't
grant
serve
as being
like,
facilitators,
libraries different
and
Something
they
like that.
stand alone,
function
and the
than
village
just
steps
being
away.
the social space.
Even
Something like
if
that
we took a
happens.
burden off the program by paying the village, paying the monthly rent for wherever it be, there's still a lot of added unknowns as
Yeah.
far as like supplies, staffing, everything yeah.
There's a lot there, though. I mean, you have Ben across the road, and you wanna be the coffee guy, I mean, there's a lot.
It's feasible as long as there's the demand and the ambition. It can be done. We just gotta get all our ducks in a row first.
Okay, so I can work on some more stuff,
like concrete numbers. Like,
And if you, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here. If you went for a more community space approach and less of a community art approach, then I think that would open up different avenues for funding, because then you can also go after art specific stuff and community center specific stuff.
well, I'm also trying to not, because the communities, the rec is, has some of their stuff that they're doing. The other thing that I would really like to do that's a little separate from this is just have a completely dedicated youth center.
I think a lot of people would echo that.
I think that one of the reasons I didn't come here with that first is I have no idea how that's funded. If the village said, hey, I would be happy for you, Heather, to try to find some way to fund that. And we would consider being a fiscal agent if you could do that.
Maybe Spectrum Youth could help you with that, in terms of where it might come from. Theirs had to come from somewhere in the beginning.
In most youth centers, they do have municipal buy-in. I've also would really, it'd be a lot of work and energy of like getting that space. So that, because again, like kids do not want, and I've been having this conversation with them for 5 years now, they do not want to be given just 2 hours at the rec center a week as their space and not be allowed to paint it and not be allowed to put up stuff that's important to them on the walls. That's not what they're looking for. That does not make them feel like they're welcome. That does not make them feel like they're included. That does not make them feel like they can walk in and say, this is a space with people that I understand and value and trust. Those kind of pop-up opportunities can have a great, wonderful space, and I'm part of one on Friday. And I think it's great that we continue doing that, but what they're really wanting in an incredibly desperate way is a space that is theirs that they can personalize, that just kind of like really embodies them. And then we would have staff members that are trained in positive youth development that would be able to support them and kind of manage the room or rooms in an appropriate manner. I would also be very happy to do a lot of legwork on figuring that out, but again, it's LEAPS can't do that. We just don't have the capacity. But it might be like a blended, like community funded / grant funded, and there are definitely grant opportunities out there. I have sat on the board for the Youth Central Alliance for Vermont. And I still get the emails. I have lots of contacts. It's just been, it's been challenging because I don't have anybody that can be the fiscal agent. That can take the money.
Anywhere near
It's
executive.
for the program.
I told me to call him.
Yeah,
That's him.
okay. Let's,
I
think-
we can go back and talk and figure some stuff out. I'll be fine with that, and then maybe Abby can help too a little bit. Sorry, Abby, throwing you under the bus,
No,
but
that's fine.
Go ahead, volunteer, Abby.
okay, let's keep moving though. We'll talk about that some
Can we
more.
do that?
So I'm welcome, I'll come back with some stuff some
I'll
other
tell
time. That'll be helpful
well,
just
it's
to know that I can do
executive,
that.
so tell them we're gonna have about 20 more minutes. We'll let them in.
All right, let's get to the trees.
1 second, so I asked Jesse for the executive to be on standby. He's asking to be let into the meeting, so we're just gonna answer him and tell him we'll be probably another 20 minutes. And if we need him, we'll call him, or if he wants to call back in, probably about 7:15 or
Or just-
7.
He can
I mean,
wait
he
too.
can
Yeah,
watch
He
the
does.
Okay,
That's what he normally does, or he has in the past, I should
Yeah,
he
say.
can wait or
Yeah,
pause or
we'll-
mute or whatever he wants to do.
We'll make it quick.
Okay.
Alright. Jesse, can you hear us?
Looks like he's on mute.
Yes, hi, I can hear you. Sorry I'm a little late. I tried signing on the link that Abby sent me, but it was acting like I was originating the meeting, so.
No problem. We're running a little late too. We got 2 more items that we gotta cover quick, so I don't know if you wanna just hang out. We'll try to make them as quick as possible.
Okay, yeah, I'll just hang. I'll wait for you to come back on.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have to look at that really quick.
All right, trees.
That's all right.
So,
Replace them.
I already knew what your answer was gonna be. Ken came to me the other day, especially after the Christmas storm, we lost another tree during that storm. Essentially, we've lost 2 flowering crabs, and I can't remember what, and a maple tree. He wanted to know if you wanted to replace them, if so, what kind of tree and where do you want them located? And I put in there just what we have for funds available and the tree fund appropriation.
Do we
Flowering
like the,
crabs are pretty, but the branches are so low.
So
They are, but
It's a-
Lincoln Park has been filled with flowering crab trees since the 1800s.
it's of Ken's opinion, we should at least put one of the
Yeah,
flowering
I'm not
crabs
opposed-
back.
there's not
Just
like
throwing
another-
that out there.
Species of tree that does that, that's a little bit taller?
Well, perhaps there's more than one height of flowering crabs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, anything.
The big
can
one
become
on the
tall
big
if
white
it's
one on the
crab.
corner was certainly tall.
Yeah.
The last one that we lost, I mean, that was a huge
That's true.
tree.
So yeah, it's important with small trees that they're maintained for the first 5-10 years of their life, so I think we're gonna have to put a little bit more money in there and just have them pruned each year.
And maybe not get some infants, get them with a little bit of size to them.
Yeah,
I mean, they cost more money,
So what
but
do you wanna do for trees?
they're established.
so
this
we'll go
year?
back, we'll go with the flowering crab, we'll
One
replace what
or
was there.
two?
Well, there's 3 that's missing, right?
Well,
2
two crabs
flowering
and one
crabs
maple.
and one maple.
Okay, you wanna just stick with that? Put what
back
was there?
what was there.
yeah, why
So
not?
Okay.
Put back what was there and where it was.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Try to stick.
See if you can get a more mature tree and then, yeah.
Trying to stick to the budget that we have or what?
You probably could do that, huh? Last time I bought a tree was like
I
$70.
can, I can get some
When you get a more
prices.
mature tree, they tend to be long.
You might have to check more than one place. I realize that on here it says Bates Farm and Home are willing to assist.
Josh
Um,
can go through H&B, he's already kinda
Okay.
chatted with them, so we have a couple options, but he's just willing to help facilitate where the tree comes from.
Okay.
And then, maintenance of those, not so much the maple, but the crabs or whatever.
Need a little bit of help in the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, they do.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
On there too.
Yeah, as far as budget goes, you think, has he priced out anything yet or no?
No, cause we didn't know what you guys were gonna wanna put back, and if you were gonna do all 3 or just 2, or, so next up, I'll touch base with Ken, we'll throw together some numbers, and I can just put some numbers in front of you.
You
for the
realize
next
what
meeting.
that park does in the center of the village. You know, it's an incredible draw.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Okay, all set on trees?
Yep.
Elm Street sidewalk.
So I'll step myself out, I guess.
So I threw this on the agenda because I know we've already asked for an extension at least once, and it's probably gonna be coming to a sunset date here, whether or not we accept this grant money. I personally don't think that there's any feasible approach to the current,
Just on that, I don't mean to interrupt, we've already accepted the grant money, and if we don't go forward, we have to pay back what we've already spent, which is about 35,000.
on
Just-
the studies.
Yep, just wanna, sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt, but just to throw that out there.
So, hot off the press today. So I've included Catherine Bennett and Shauna Lillett, kind of as our local representatives a little bit. We're talking to them in Margot. But I've also, like I had mentioned, I was gonna hound, I did that write out for the 105 audit. And there were some folks there that I had talked with, and then I used the email chain and stole some names and been hounding them the past week. So, hot off the press today, they've accepted this new plan. I'll pass it around. The only contingency is they are going to do a study, and I have to talk to Pete.
Oh, they did pass J-View?
So now they're
On-
looking.
In
The
front of
state 105.
McDonald's.
So they're
Yep.
gonna come across with a crosswalk, flashing
Okay,
crosswalk
we'll share.
across
We'll share.
J-View. And then they're going to be going across, McDonald's, by McDonald's, so we extend the park. So, let me back up for a second.
Same damn.
So, we had, and again, I can't remember where I left off some folks, because I've talked to some of you individually. So, we're gonna bag the north side of Elm. Nobody uses it, and we're gonna slowly, over the years, without sort of spending engineering and all that stuff, we'll replace piece by piece, and we're gonna, okay, so we're gonna
You
stick
mean
with.
leaving it there, just doing it
Leaving it
sometime?
And we won't need to worry about easements because we're keeping
Yeah.
it the same.
Rather,
Correct.
oak tree and all
Yeah.
this.
Right. I don't want to
And
kill
because
anybody.
the sidewalk is fine on the south side, we're gonna come up, and a lot of kids come up the Pleasant Street anyway. We're gonna maintain that and use the funds that were dedicated to this part of the project and put it into this part of the project. And we persuaded them to go in front of McDonald's. So then the crosswalk, again, this is still a short-term plan for the next few years while we figure out the light thing. But we'll come across J-View and then in front of McDonald's and cross to the bank and then go this direction to the rec field.
So we're not crossing water tower.
We're not crossing water
Going
tower.
in front of McDonald's and across 105. That's,
You got it.
that's good.
So the only contingency that they put in this email is that they want to do a study as far as, well, they're gonna do a study to see the,
Studies after.
if there's enough pedestrians, we'll have to make everybody walk that way for a while. Traffic to warrant that, and that the speed can, and I mean technically, I know nobody does it, I mean technically the speed limit is 30 miles per hour at this point. It's way down by the hill. So they're gonna do that study to see if it warrants a crosswalk there.
I gotta quit my job and walk up there 50 times a day?
You do.
Yes.
The other thing that I'm gonna make sure they're aware of, you know, again, if you're not aware, you know, Catherine Bennett and some other folks are really pushing to put a new playground up here to make it, you know, because right now it's not a ton of kid or youth.
Right.
I mean, it's
Fields
soccer,
and that's
the
it,
older
yeah.
kids are walking up there playing basketball and using the sports fields, and then
Most
little,
just practice.
yeah, and little league, you know, they'll drive in, and so the idea is that let them know that this area is also growing as far as more of a rec community of playgrounds and other little gamey things for kids.
Yeah.
So, again, I think this is the best case scenario until we can figure out the Bayview Drive thing. But I just got this afternoon, and so I'd like to,
I'm gonna draw on mine.
This is what has made the most sense since day one of this project. Me with the state had always had a hard no on a crosswalk on Samsonville. So if they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
yeah.
It's the most cost-effective solution versus what we were originally
Absolutely.
going with.
So
Emotionally, it's a lot easier too.
I've asked, so I did ask the question today, so I don't know this yet, I asked, email back, are we, or is, so, the other update too, so we are with, D&K, Du Bois and King, as the engineers, because the other engineers have dispersed. So, we're working with Peter Pochop and, Du Bois and King. So I did ask the question, is Du Bois and King gonna be on, or us, or are we gonna be on the hook for that study that they wanna see, or is the V-Trans gonna be on the hook for that study that they wanna see? So I haven't got a response to that yet.
Either way, we're not replacing a quarter mile of sidewalk now. We would just be making
It would be extending, and
100 feet
then,
of new
Right.
sidewalk or whatever it is. So I think there's plenty of money now in the
Yeah,
pot.
this
because we're
grant
not-
is significant that if we had to be on the hook for it, and it could be under the grant.
Was
and
it 240? Is that how much we got?
Closer to 3, I think.
yeah.
Okay, so it's probably, yeah, so, I think there's plenty of money there, even, doesn't really matter who pays
Exactly.
for
It
it.
is by December, so we're gonna kick them into high gear of next 2024.
The construction needs to be done by
So
next
we're
year.
gonna be kicking them in the high gear, get all their studies and get it figured out this summer, so we can start next spring and be done.
Good.
So this would also include a sidewalk, I'm assuming, up,
Yeah, the red line is the
The-
sidewalk.
Yep,
up to the rec
Yeah,
center.
this
okay.
is the
Emergency
sidewalk.
services.
The only thing I may add, I don't wanna get too greedy, they exit out, I'd like to see at least the sidewalk go back towards Water Tower, because again, until Eli kinda brought it up, cause he's such a sharp fellow, is, you know, we got the doctor and dentist up here, which is walkable, but it's not really because there's no sidewalks up here. So once we make this a little bit easier, I'm gonna see if we can get the sidewalk at least back to this corner, and then at some point we sidewalk up here. So that people can walk to the dentist and doctor and so forth, and it's a little more user
So
friendly.
many people walk.
Yep, okay, well, that sounds good to me. I know we got Jesse waiting.
Sounds
but-
good.
Okay, that's good.
Moving
That's
on.
good news. I didn't realize that had been approved. That's awesome. Okay, manager's report.
No, yeah. Can't remember what I wrote, sorry. So a couple things here. I'd like to thank Abby and Lori as well for their efforts over the past couple months working to ensure budgets were completed in a timely manner, working with each department to keep them on track and making for a smooth budget season. Also for our financial audit that came back, very positive with no concerns or items that the village needs to adjust.
That was
So
great.
if if you're not aware, when KBS sends back, they usually have a little laundry list of stuff that we need to approve upon and make changes to, but they had nothing to say this time.
That's great. Thank you.
So again,
A lot of hard work.
I wonder how many years it's been since that happened.
a lot of the work, between what Abby does and Lori, as far as the policy changes we made and so forth, and so nice work, Abby and Lori. Update on the Vermont Healthy Communities interview. So we did go through that interview with some of the folks we would be working with. So just some of the things that came out of it. It's kind of interesting because the folks are at it from out of state. It's not even Vermont. We're talking to someone from Orlando and for somewhere else. So it's basically a small cities.
Orlando and Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
Okay.
Small cities.
Small.
Yeah.
No, not particularly from what
So
I
we were
see.
trying to bring it down to scale for them a bit. It sounds like
get
they
it
have
to
a lot of different project managers that could help in various ways. The support that Ab and I felt we would see the most bang for our buck was the streetscapes and ideas that maybe other cities and towns across the country are using for streetscapes. So they sent an email to me earlier this week. I gotta go back in. There's another section I gotta fill out. I guess if we want to go down this road, we are accepted as part of this grant. They will work with us, so.
Can we use that money to?
It's not money, it's just support.
Oh.
So basically, they're gonna give us a project manager that will help with the streetscapes or.
Burying power lines.
Yes, sir, Barry.
I don't know.
But I think like some of it too is that they would have help like support and like gaining community support with stuff too, which like was kind of part of it.
Essentially, it seemed like any kind of part of this project, of these types of projects, they would have a project manager that would support us. So I gotta fill out this information and get it back to them and then kind of learn a little bit more, but I guess we are anointed and
Well,
if we wanna
they-
work with them, we can, and to what, it sounded,
Sounds fancy.
it sounded like we would kind of get to pick and choose. I don't know, we'll see what happens when we fully get done, but it sounds like we could.
We'll
pick
be
and
so
choose.
small, we'll be cute and they'll like us.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But again, just
Such a cute.
good, bad, or indifferent. There's
Look at
no
that tiny little town. Let's see what
opinion
we can do
there
with
per
it.
se. It was just that
Tiny little people,
Less residents.
that
than
they
one
were
block
from
in
out
our
of
city.
state.
yeah. But 3 crack houses.
Yeah.
Hopefully still less than our city.
The other thing was we have accepted our AMI. So we've talked about AMI, the meters for a long time.
Yeah.
So VEPSA has finally, the state has finally given VEPSA the $5 million, which then it gets broken down to each of the members of VEPSA. So they've kind of come up with, that's the final number, and now they have to go through the whole part of, supposedly, it's a federal grant that's fed to the state, so we have to wait for that whole process. We still don't know a timeline per se, but they finally have at least given them VEPSA the number so they can start actually working numbers correctly. And they were also waiting for that number to officially sign on with some of the different contractors they were gonna use as far as the ones that do studies and all that stuff and the meters and so forth. So, so they can kind of start that ball rolling as well. So that was kind of good news.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Other business?
I have one really quick thing. Margot had emailed me today. They're looking at doing, the rec center is looking at sponsoring kind of a spring fun run. They want to utilize village sidewalks. She's kind of looking for what you guys would need for her to bring it to you. She did throw in the end that they want the race to start and end at Leakin Park so they could fill out the park application if you wanted, but other than like the route and their traffic control plan for crossings, is there any other specific information? She's just trying to be prepared so there's not the back and forth.
I think if they're using the park, they'll need a park
Yep.
permit. And I think she can kind of use that as her faceplate to accompany any traffic control and everything on.
Perfect, that's
And
kind
we'll
of what
just
I told
approve it
her.
all as a parks use.
Okay, that's what I kind of had mentioned to her, but I just told her I'd unofficially put it before you guys, so A, this is coming, and B, what do you want?
And if she's
She can put it
utilizing
out.
sidewalks, there shouldn't be too much of a problem anyway.
Right, we don't
Yeah.
have anything.
It's no different than a pedestrian crossing the street.
That's
it's
right,
just
so
more.
there was more of a courtesy to let you guys know what was going on and that there may be some traffic disruptions if they have to just like momentarily just stop an intersection for kids or for people to run through.
Yep.
Okay, cool, thank you.
I mentioned this to John this morning, but I want to reiterate. This morning it was fairly dark, it was raining, and there was a person going down the west side of Main Street to go to work on the east side of Main Street, wearing black pants, a black jacket, carrying a black umbrella. And as I said, it was rather dark. And there was a huge dump truck barreling down Main Street, and she hit the button at the lighted crosswalk, and I swear to God, only because of that lighted crosswalk did that truck stop. He put the binders on and he came to a stop in a hurry, but he stopped. And
good to hear they're working.
I thought, yes! As a matter of fact, I stood there on the sidewalk going, yes, it works!
Sorry.
Because she would have been creamed.
And back to sidewalks real quick. So we did get the final draft of the Dickinson crosswalk from Peter Mazurek, so.
Great.
That was the state V-Trans guy was CC on just to give his thoughts. I talked to Ken, talked to Gary. We're pretty well set on that, so once the state guy kind of thinks he doesn't see anything wrong, that should be approved, and he's sending us
Super.
back.
And we have a flashing crosswalk for that, or flashing
Yeah.
signs
I
for
mean,
that.
they work.
So we're gonna put the bid together, information together, and get that out to bid, and so we can start that
Wonderful.
for this spring.
Awesome. Any other business? If none, we gotta move into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiations in which premature public knowledge may compromise the position of the municipality. I'll hear a motion.
Move.
Eli
Second.
first, Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay.